let's watch it. We'll start with you, Caroline, if you don't mind. You okay with it?
Yes.
All right.
You're pissed at house. I get it. You're symbolicating killing him. Symbolicating? What? Symbolically. Guess that's a good word.
Interesting.
Pissed at house. I get it. You're symbolicating killing him. Symbolicating? What? Symbolically. Guess that's a hard word.
Cool. Oh, tell us your story. What's the shot? What's the intention here? What was your progression? I saw some of your progression earlier, like between early versions. It looks like you're going to the right, interesting direction. But overall, how you see this, where you are right now, and where you'd like to go from here, and how we can tackle some of your concerns. Carolina?
Actually, I think it's improved a lot because you can see the first version, but trust me, this is way better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's little things right now that for me are jumping like the board, but in general, I think it's working well. Like nothing obvious happening. I went like a detective look,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, I don't know what more to say.
No, absolutely. There's a very good. Absolutely agree with you. Like you, pretty much almost there. There's quite a few like smaller little things that you may consider to tweak and improve, and what they call in industry CBB could be better, but they're like minor details, and they kind of good as is, but could be even pushed even further. We can chat about it. And overall, yes, I compliment you. There's a good volume in the room. You can feel the depth, the character well shaped. There's this nice little kicks and rims. You can feel his dimension, whatnot. Uh, uh, I guess the background too, even though it's slightly busy, but he stands out here. He's kind of brighter character over this darker midsection corner, which is kind of works very well. But also we have these brighter spots that kind of indicate our light source, which is kind of also everything um, entwined together nicely. I have a couple more like smaller, what they call CBB could be better things to look for you to look at and see if you want to explore and push it even further. And we can.
Sorry, can you repeat that? CBB, you say?
CBB, it's a term in industry. It's abbreviation for could be better.
Oh, okay.
Does it make sense? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I was surprised how many quite in a few places people just use this abbreviation. You just sometimes don't know what's. You would think, in some places it's novelty, in some places it's obvious things, but here is the abbreviation for you. CBB, it's a could be better. That means it's kind of good already, but if you can push it even further, that would be nice. If you have time and bandwidth.
Yes,
Make sense? Yeah.
yes, yes.
All right. You mentioned already that one of the first one and Blue Sky was a lot into this look of the eyes and how the eye looked like, because every time we have a character, people naturally instinctively look in their eyes, and that's how they connect, and that's usually they sweated the eye look quite a bit. We have like whole special tool set dedicated just to eye look, how the eyes look. So the major overall, your eyes are shaped all right. There's a good iris on those elements are there. There's even some variance in there, which is nice. He's moving quick. We don't need to kind of you know sweat it too much. However, what's obviously missing this what they call dings or specular highlights. And I saw in one of your version, I think it was. Let me actually maybe uh, bring it up. So how I can go here elegantly. Guess we'll put it this way. Like right here, I think you have. Yeah, you have those highlights. The only thing about what my take about them, it's better than not to have them. The thing is that he's in the dim room, and this light source areas, he's not lit with the
If
head.
you're talking, I can't hear you. I don't know if it's just me.
Okay, Andrew, can you hear me? I'm just want to make sure that if it's my problem or if it's somewhere in between problem. Hello? Can you hear me now? Anybody can hear me? Uh-uh. Hello?
Andre, you can hear him? Oh, okay.
Hello? Okay, just a second.
Oh, I think maybe.
Let's see. Boom, boom.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Is it
oh,
is it better?
Yeah, now we can hear.
yes,
Oh, interesting. So I guess when I have an image, you can hear me now. How about now?
Yeah.
yes,
How about now? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
yes.
That's strange. I didn't do anything besides
Yeah,
just.
Maybe because you left Discord? I don't know.
Well, Discord is always there. Ah, I see. It's maybe need to be inactive on the active on the.
yeah, maybe when you change tabs on the browser,
I
it
see.
might.
I
Yeah.
see. Oh, it's good to know. Well, we're learning as we go. At least I'll keep it in the background open. That's most likely it. So what I was talking about is that. All right. The you had let me see. Let me rearrange here. Boom. You had very strong, like sharp dings, but I would suggest you to consider maybe if you have a separate light. I assume, or do you do it in 2D? How do you do your dings? How you like specular highlights and eyes? There's several
I was going to do another render with light,
with actual light.
like
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I would suggest you for the eye dings instead of like sharp, small light that kind of catches on in some frames and kind of blasts him with like very sharp ding. Maybe consider like bigger size light that kind of almost like maybe represent this board, whatnot.
Yes,
Maybe not too strong in intensity. What you as a result you may get a maybe bigger kind of highlight. You see my cursor?
okay.
It will be bigger.
Yes,
You actually can make it even bigger than this board, like more like rectangular. And benefit of it is that as he moves his eyes around, because that light is big, that light most likely one way or the other will be in his will be showing up in his eye. You see what I'm talking about? When you have a smaller light, and then
yes,
when he moves his lights around, then all of a sudden he may catch it, then he may not, then may catch it again, and then it's kind of became chasing your tail situation. But in this case, because he's in a dimmer room with this big, large reflective light surfaces, I would suggest you consider kind of bigger eye spec light that kind of bigger in size, maybe slightly dimmer, and you'll have this bigger size kind of not too strong kind of like eye spec representation or eye ding we call it in blue sky. Does it make sense?
yes.
All right. So
Okay.
th- that's one item pretty much. Bring his eyes a little bit more alive with this eye spec treatment, but I would suggest you consider larger size, but maybe a lower in intensity approach. Okay.
Okay.
So that's good. Well, another just little good details. I don't know if you can have a matte of his lighter here on the cigarette. It's also CBB, could be better. Doesn't have to, but if you have a bandwidth, it could be fun
Oh
to.
yes, I an AOV so I can when he smoke I can push the like the light of the cigarette.
Yeah. Even if he move, it tend to be usually this little red item because it's kind of interesting element. It's the second or a third one, but you do notice it. You can because it's contrasty one. It's nice to make it interesting and put a little bit more, I guess, oomph to it, so to speak. So, as he moves here, you may want to kind of almost heavily, it goes in and out a little bit more like on the dimmer side. And when he puffs in, then it kind of gets really bright. And then it kind of like fades out a little bit again. But usually it's never like consistent. It usually kind of goes up and down, like it's almost like pulsating little thing. And then it's obviously the yarkest, the brightest is that when he puffs in. But it could be a nice, interesting touch if you have pretty much you can do it in 2D if you just grab a mat if you have a mat of it, and then just play with give some curve to intensity gain, and then you can have interesting little animation going on there. So that it's just once again it's could be better, but overall it's in good place already. It's just one little thing. So are we still you still with me?
Yes.
All right. The third item is that is this green light meant to be on or off?
On.
On. Okay. So here's we need to get kind of maybe a little bit more consistency. This light in the corner is odd. It has quite a strong volumics going on. Is it correct? You see this? You see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. It would be nice. It doesn't have to be as strong as pronounced, but it would be nice to be consistent and have some sort of similar treatment for this lamp as well. Pretty much have a
Okay,
little.
I should do like a volume render only.
Yeah, it would be. Yes, it would be. I'm not sure how technically you're implementing it. Like there could be layers, but my point is that if we have some sort of
Oh, you there again.
Yeah, we lost you again.
I mean, how about now?
Okay, you're back. Yes.
Back.
That's funny. This cord is very picky. It may want to be on the top. Well, let's see. Let me sneak the image back in. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe it's a timeout thing where if you are not on the tab for a certain amount of time, it cuts you.
All right. Well, in case I disappear, guys, flag me. I'll just go in and out, and we'll have 3 more minutes. I don't know where's the setting. If you know where the setting is, where you can disable it, but it probably will take a while to find it.
It might help you to install the app instead of going through the website, because I think it
Oh,
does, it doesn't
yeah.
happen if you're going through the app and
Uh,
not through the website.
okay, yeah, I might look into it. That may be a good idea. That makes sense. Sounds good. Well, I didn't anticipate it, but I guess I'll tackle it next next time around. So we were talking about volumics for the lights. And the
Mhm.
point is that if we have it here, it would be nice to have it here as well. Maybe not as strong, but some form of it. Otherwise, it looks like it's lit, but then it's confusing because we have nothing here, but we have some volumics here, like some sort of dusty or dumb environment. And somehow there's a different treatment between two lamps. We want to bring them in the same type of realm. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I would
Okay.
consider for you to add at least some sort of volumic cone feel to right here if it meant to be on. Okay.
Okay.
So try to think another little item I had in mind. Oh, the thing is that another it's probably the last one on the list, fourth, like CBB. When you look at the image at first glance, when you see that the light is coming here from you see this volumic cone nicely, but then this lamp itself it's kind of very hidden. It's kind of it takes a while to figure out where the light's coming from because that light oops that lamp back there is kind of blends in with the wall. You see what I'm talking about? And if you kind of
Yes.
like slightly squint your eyes, all of a sudden you see that the light is coming from, but then it's kind of like, what's going on? Where did the light come from? Was it a mistake or not? And then you look closer, you start to look for the answer, and then you discover there's a lamp there. But it would be nice if it wasn't that big of a challenging task. I don't know. You almost would consider maybe you want to either change the material on this lamp cone, maybe so it can read a little bit better that there is a lamp, so it blends less with the background wall. You can potentially resolve it with some sort of lights and maybe rim it a little bit, give it outline, but it may be easier just to give it a um, slightly different material, or maybe just gain it a little bit, somehow just separate it a little bit more from the corner, from the wall. You see what I'm talking about? Because here it's just literally like continuation of this
Yes,
painting.
plan.
It's almost like continuation of this painting, and then it takes a while to figure out it's actually a lamp, and then you kind of it takes some time to discover it. But we don't really want it to, confuse people where the light come from. We just want to be kind of piece a little bit more clear. Okay, there's a lamp. Don't sweat it. It's not a mistake. That's where the light cone coming from. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So once again, there could be several more. If you have a cryptomats or anything, actually, maybe just gaining the value for this lamp, this part or the whole lamp. Just make it a little brighter material appearance so that we can. You get an idea. We can kind of carve it out of the wall a little bit, so it's a little bit clear right away that it's lamp there, and we don't need to spend time to discover it for too long. Sounds good?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, something else I had in mind. Well, the character role looks great and good shape, a lot of nice details. Yeah, to reiterate, pretty much this broad eyeing would be nice. Maybe nice animation on his butt, cigarette butt, a little bit volume right here, and the front green lamp would be nice. It actually would add another nice little layering, maybe give another more depth, whatnot, and maybe find that lamp or carve it out from the wall a little bit better, and then we should be. Those are kind of, once again, smaller could be better options. It's already works, but we can bring it even further. Make sense?
Yes, give me all the notes you want. I have
Well,
no problem.
those are, I'm not sure. I'd not really consider those as notes, more like ideas for you guys to explore. Hopefully, they make sense, and most importantly, keep it yours. Make sense? You know what I'm talking about? So make sure if notes make sense to you, you just go with it. If it's not really, maybe just try it out. If you discover that it helps, great. If not, then it's your creation. Well, I think we're done here. Do you have any questions or something you want to clarify, or some other points of concern that we didn't touch on?
The board. I think I have to redo the render because it did. You know when you do a lot of change while you're seeing the render on like on live. I don't know how to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It seems that when I did the render of the background, the board at the end it did that, like like the light of the lamp, like increase the intensity.
Yeah.
In comp, I have to bring that down, but
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe there's something I'm not noticing that it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I guess those you know, it. I mean, it's troubleshooting. It's hard to do it like remotely and just from brief description. So, but overall, approaching it, there's usually they call it 80-20 rule. It takes you 20% of time to make 80% of progress, and then it takes you remaining 80% of time to bring in the rest 20% of finishing touches. Do you see where the irony is? Hello, Carolina, are you still with me?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes, yes.
true.
Yeah, this pretty much very often in the beginning making a leap of the progress in a relatively short time, and you're almost there, but then start to kind of fixing up those little details, adding little CBBs or exploring little corners. It's all of a sudden gets maybe quite a bit of time consuming and kind of takes quite a bit of time, and then you go forth and back. I think is that rendering the whole range, it's maybe every time it's maybe a little bit overkill. Usually in industry they do like the sample frames, kind of like what you did here. I think you have 4 or 5 frames. That's a good idea. Very often they go with like what it's called FML frames, which is first, middle, last, or you can do 5, maybe first, middle, last, and couple in between. But I mean, depending if how intense your animation, how intense your camera move is. So you can have like some representation. You can probably get away with like first, middle, and last frame here, or maybe these 4 frames that you have looks like it's a good representation right there. And if you, then you kind of, um, or even if you pick one that's uh, just use your keyframe, you kind of resolve everything there, then maybe try like first, middle, last, or maybe 5 or 4 representing frames if they hold up and everything is fine, and then you render the whole range and hopefully everything works. I tested you quite a few. This could be better points if you opt for exploring them. It's actually can take quite a bit of time. I just don't want you every time render the whole range. I would suggest you kind of maybe backpedal a little bit to few frames, make sure they work, and then after everything's good, then just render the whole range is just a technical push button and let the computer sit on it for some time. Make sense? Don't necessarily marry yourself to the whole range render. That's, I guess, the uh, bottom line or summary of my uh, thesis to you here. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Well, but once again, yeah. Overall, very great work, and you pretty much once again 95% there. But those few little items would be nice to kind of bring in for them. So if there's no more question on your side, we can maybe move on, as Andrew posted an update on one of his image. So are you clear? You clear? Okay, sounds good. Andrew?
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think I saw you updated one of your images. Is it right? Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So let me actually maybe do this. I'll. Boom. So in case, so it doesn't disconnect me.
Oh yeah.
Let me close this. Boom. And we're probably gonna compare it. Oh, we didn't. We get new. We're probably gonna compare with. What I mean, those all of them new, is it right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I normally post the old version, the new version, just so that you can have them together.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the wider shot just because it's kind of much more representative that what we talked about. Pretty much the color, white point concept and color, like tungsten light versus moonlight color color difference, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me do this. All right. All right. Cool. So you still can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's see. So still can hear me?
Yeah.
Try to try to find my way around this. All right. Okay, cool. So we have that's before, and they're getting after. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I fixed the UV on the building on the back.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very often when I do lighting, I kind of like tend to look at the image with what is called squinted eyes. When you kind of try to, or like when painters paint, they tend to like step far back and look at the painting from like long distance, so they can see the bigger picture. They kind of okay, what happens? What's the feel? Where things going? And
Uh-huh.
sometimes those little details like those they kind of slip through the fingers under that approach. So my apologies if I didn't sometimes maybe overlook them. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. Well, here once again, yeah, I see what you did. You added some blue to the moonlight. Is it right? Most
Yeah,
primary leadership. Yeah.
a bit more warm to the to the tungsten.
Yeah, to the what it's called, like lamp light, or they call it tungsten light, which is usually the
Yeah,
the
it's nice.
the
The artificial one.
exactly electric light, so to speak. Yeah. So that's much better, and you kind of like pretty much try to push both of them apart. And uh, this, what my take is that if like in our older version, it once again looks like photography, but it's almost like could be a little bit hard to tell what time of the day it is or what it is. But here, I hope you're picking it up with our new version. It's start to get a little bit more eveningy, more like you can feel the difference that it's evening, that it's cooler outside, that it's moonlight, and then there's nice warmth inside of the house. My
Yeah.
take, yeah, my take it almost like would bring the because most of our scene is outside, moonlight. And usually in photography, what occupies the most of the imagery, that's where the where, like this white point in most cameras it sets automatically, and the algorithm usually is that it looks what's the most image, what's the occupies most of the image, and in our case it's outdoor, and it's probably gonna attempt to set the if you shoot it with automatic camera, it will probably attempt to set the white point to the towards the moonlight. It's I think it's good that you have some blue to it, but it probably will be our white point most likely, or tend to be white point. But what happens in this case if the white point is shifted towards the moonlight? What happens is that the opposite, the tungsten or electric light, will get more saturated to kind of to correspond to it. You see what I'm talking about? You
Yeah.
kind of you catch the logic. So from that just pure logical perspective, I would probably suggest to try it out. Once again, it's your shot, but see if you can go even further amber, almost like to these levels. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I know it's curtain and stuff, but color wise and saturation wise, go
Yeah.
like even warmer in with more like amber uh, color, um, kind of much more saturated, much more stronger. Simply this concept of how the white point shifts. And since most of our image once again outside, usually naturally that's white points is set up. I think I like that you give some more blue to it. We don't have to turn it completely white point. It's always a shifting kind of moving target. Some blue in it is great, and also if we had it more like original version, like more desaturated version, then we would need to then we will need to make this tungsten light even more amber, even more orange to kind of compensate for that white point shift. You see what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? But
Yeah.
since here we kind of backpedal of that a little, but allow some blue, then we don't have to go like to extremely orange here. We can kind of go there, but kind of not to extreme levels. And that's just my thought. I would just try it out. Maybe have a few, maybe one or two. But almost my gut is that here we still kind of uh, almost like a sunlight. It would be like it's still quite a bit of just a lot of pretty much white, neutral yellow, orange color to it. But if it can
Uh-huh.
get almost like to this levels, like really
Yeah.
orange, then you can get like very moody, very kind of cool outside blue moon and nice warm tungsten, either almost like a candlelight, but not quite there. You see what I'm saying? But in that
Yeah.
direction. Then you can get this much more interesting color contrast going on, and kind of they'll complement and pronounce each other even further. Make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
about it. I think you're going in the right direction. I just want to kind of retouch with you all this wide point shift ideas and what to try in that regard. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, that's about it. Otherwise, once again, it's still, it looks photography wise and black and white value wise. If you turn it gray, it looks great. Beautiful image.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I see. All right, let me close this. Boom. So, do we have any Sylvain? Hello?
Hello?
Hey? Do you have an image to look at? Oh, okay, there we go. Yes.
You already replied to it? It's a winter cabin.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to chat about it? And maybe do you want to, we can kind of quickly. I wrote some note. Do you want to reiterate them or like maybe just.
No, it's okay. Just I saw you were live, so I just popped in to
Yeah.
see how it was going.
Do those notes that I wrote to you make sense? Or just a second.
Right. Yeah, for the sparkles, there are some, I think, with image export. Most of it disappeared, so I may need to boost it a little. I don't know, maybe in render, but maybe in comp. I don't know. I'll see what I can do for this.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, guys, where are you located geographical wise? Because of all this time zone difference and stuff, how is this time spot working for you?
Uh, I'm in France,
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm in New
so
York.
yeah.
Andrew, you?
The time. Usually I'm at work at this hour, but it's a bank holiday today, so I'm free.
Oh, lovely. All right. Andrew, are you at New York? In
I'm
New
in New
York?
York.
All right. So I'm in Connecticut.
Oh,
So
there you go.
exactly, yeah.
We're almost neighbors.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Carolina?
I'm in Argentina.
Argentina. Oh, lovely. All right. Cool.
Hmm.
All right. Sylvan, my additional notes about this front branch, did it make sense to you or
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
sure. I didn't think about it at first, but now you mention it, yeah, it's competing with the house for the attention.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It
I
looked
put it in shadow.
yeah, it looks beautiful by itself, nice shape and nice interesting stuff, but I'm not sure if it's your intention because it's actually does kind of I look at the house and immediately I'm looking what's this going on and almost like expect if there was a bird sitting on it and we will feature a bird that and the cows in the mountain with the background, that would totally work. But if we want to look at the house, this probably what we were talking about with Andrew for the rest of the group to reiterate. One of the I guess what my thought was that these usually frontal elements, if we don't mean to feature them, but most cases they used as a framing element. So in this particular case, it probably would be beneficial if it's not hit with the key light, but more like in the if it exists in the shadowy area, maybe even go even darker and pretty much less contrast. So it's almost more like a little framing, almost like vignetting element, and then we keep looking at our point of interest at the house. That was the note. So just for the group, if you don't mind, we quickly reiterate what we talked about. I guess we're talking about sky. Did sky note made sense to you? Try to look if you can make a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gradient. Could be a simple solution. And now
Yeah,
the
there is already a gradient from yellow to purple, from left to right, but it's really subtle and it's not vertical. So yeah,
I
I'll try
see.
to add some gradient there too.
Yeah, if you look at the reference images for the morning or any sky images like on the net, just notice they're usually vertical gradient. It's usually lighter, desaturated bottom and more saturated, deeper top. Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it's
I
clear sky.
watched
Yeah.
some reference after your note, and yeah, I've noticed that. So
Yeah.
I'll try to do something about it.
And it's usually a very simple kind of way to kind of get your sky simple yet somewhat interest to it. So another point that we talked with Sylvain is that there's this bright spot, and it's not necessarily it's what it does. It's not necessarily intensity of it, but where it's located. It's my opinion is a little bit that doesn't help. It's on the side of the frame, almost like running out of the frame, and kind of steals the whole point of attention there. If this spot was somewhere in front of the house, or like right on the
Yeah,
steps,
yeah,
then could have been better story, and then maybe here was a little bit more this kind of start to get into mid-tone values, kind of like frame it up a little bit better. That could have been much more interesting. So it's not necessarily value, this intensity of it, it's the location of it that would be nice. I try to remember what else we talked about. Like you mentioned, maybe sparkles and a little bit more variance in the snow.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always good addition. But snow is always a tricky material, a tricky geometry to get it right. So
yeah. It took me several attempts to. I did a first try, it didn't work. Second, third try, I think, and now I think I need to just adjust it on per geometry.
yeah,
I already have. I have two. One for the geometry closer to the camera, and one for further geometry with a higher radius for the subsurface scattering,
yes,
because it's kind of look like nicer.
yeah. No, absolutely.
But
Yeah. No, snow is a challenge because it has this interesting kind of transmitting qualities to it. I think what
mm,
particularly successful in your shot, I've seen this particular scene with many different implementing it, but you got it right away, is the correspondence between sky color and your shadowed area in the snow. They kind of very linked, very connected. I saw a
mm,
lot of images in the past that people have sky and then the snow kind of like colors, there's mismatch or disjointness. Here you got it right away. I mean, after you add a little bit of vertical gradient, you still probably will be in the ballpark. But overall, just want to give you a compliment on that. This beautiful reflection here, everything holds up really nicely. It's already very, very charming image. Yeah, and this branch is actually stands out interesting because you kind of look at the house first and then look here and then almost wish there was some sort of creature was sitting there and then
yeah, I'll
there's
see
a
if I can
story.
find something to. Maybe a bird, like you said. I'll see if I can find something. So it could be interesting to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make a story out of it and alternate it, that's fine. But it's all your intention. But I guess if it meant to be kind of featured and there's something happening here, there would be one way to go. But if it's not, then we better resolve it as a framing element. That's the
I
that's the
think I'll
story.
try the two. Yeah, I'll try with a creature and keeping the branch in the light, but also try a version with the branch in shadow and see
Yeah,
which one works better.
absolutely. Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, that's about it. Do you have any other thoughts or additional ideas that we want to cross-reference and chat about? Because that's all about, we kind of reiterated in everything that we communicated with you on the text format, but anything additional that we want to touch on about this image?
I think I'm good. I just need to get back to it and try everything you mentioned.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like my purpose is just kind of like toss some ideas in you guys to let your imagination go wild and experiment and see where you can arrive hopefully to a better place. But it's already pretty lovely. Nice color
Thank
scheme.
you.
Yeah, nice color scheme too.
Yeah, I really
Oh,
like it too.
yeah. Yeah, and this kind of oranges woody cabin fits into this, and this with this purple pretty nice too. With this material kind of like sets in pretty nice too. All right. Well, that's about it, guys. If there's no more question, we can probably go ahead and wrap it up.
Thank you very much.
All right, yeah.
And,
Let me close.
have a lovely day.
Yeah, you too. You too. Have a beautiful day, and till next time, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Good weekend.
Thank you.
You too. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.